everyone, this is Debbie from Project 39. So this video is going to be what supplies you'll need and how to make the cuts of the paper. So we'll go through it real quick so that way you can be ready to rock and roll. Let's get started. All right, I'm going to start with talking about the supplies you'll need. So obviously you've received the Simple Stories, The Little Things Collector's Essential Kit. So you'll need that and you'll use most of it. There will be some left over for a second project. This includes 12 double-sided sheets, the chipboard stickers, the page pieces, that's that one, the journal bits and pieces, there's that, and then the sticker sheet, plus the paper that comes in the collection. And then you've also received the EK Success scissors, so we'll use those three. And then the arches, you'll use the largest and the smallest, and we'll be using those in different places. Let me move that out of the way. You'll also need a 12 by 12 sheet of chipboard. And as for, oh, and also you'll have this gorgeous, gorgeous ribbon. And this is ample for what we need to do. I am using Designer Dries Clear Art glitter glue. It's in the smaller container just because it's easier for my hands and this stays clean. Whereas if I use this, it would be unsightly for a video. So I just fill this one up a couple of times for my project. I do use some powder for the stickers. And then your normal tools. I use 2 different kinds of scissors, bone folder. I do use a hole punch. I use this Dress Your Craft bone folder because I love it. And that's about it. So we're going to first start with cutting the chipboard and then we'll cut the artisan cardstock. Oh, I did use the black artisan cardstock. I used 14 sheets of the 87 pound, the 12 by 12. So let's get started with some cutting. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is cut our chipboard. I'm using my old Fiskars paper trimmer. I know there are other ones out there. Use what you have, whatever you use to cut chipboard. So I'm going to cut it down to 9 inches first. And then I'm going to cut that in half at 6. So you'll have 2 6 by 9 pieces. And then the spine is only 2 inches. So I'm going to cut this down to 9 first. And then cut that down to 2. All right. At some point I'm going to cover this, and I forgot to mention you'll need some sheets of score tape sheets to cover the chipboard. So I will do that before we start using this. Oh, by the way, these 2 pieces you can discard. I usually throw these out, but I'll save this if I need a small spine for something. But do what you need to. All right, now we're going to cut our pages. So for the cover, we're going to first cut 1 inch off of this. So I have 11 by 12. And then I am going to cut this. So this is to cover the chipboard cover. So normally you would have it, it would be, since the cover is 6 by 9, you would have it 8 by 11. But I want this piece that's left over to cover our cut aparts. So I want it 4 1/8. So I'm going to cut this 7 7/8. So it's going to be just 1/8 of an inch shorter than you normally would. So instead of it being 8 inches, it's going to be 7 7/8 by 11. to cover the spine. And then these you'll be able to cut apart for cut apart. So actually, let's do that now. So that's 4 1/8. I'm going to cut it down to 3 1/8 so we can get 1, 2, 3. And then we will need to make a little cut to cut the arch, so you can save this or get it out of another piece. But so we have some for cut aparts, and we have one for the spine. We'll do the exact same thing with one more piece to cover the other cover. These I don't need, so you can either discard or save for another use. So I cut off 11, and I'm going to cut it 7 7/8. Yes, it'll make it a little wonky when you're covering the cover, but not so much that it's going to be a big deal. And then I'll cut 3 1/8 once, 3 1/8 twice, 3 1/8 3 times, and I'll discard that. Okay, so we have these two that are for our covers. And then we have these that are mats for our cut aparts. So these we won't use till the end, so just put those aside. All right, let's grab another piece of 12 by 12 artisan cardstock. And we're going to cut for the spine. So let's just cut this 5 inches. Because the spine is 2, you need 1 1/2 on each side, so you have 3, so we need 5. And then I want it 11 inches long, so we just take off 1 inch off of there. I'm going to discard that. This is for the spine. This is to cover the chipboard spine. And then we have this piece left over. We're going to cut this almost 9 inches. I'm going to cut it 8 15/16. It's just a hair short of 9. This is 7. I'm going to leave it at that. I mean, you could cut off some, but you don't need any more. So I put 6 by 9. I don't need 6. Let me change that. Cover inside spine, 7 by 9. Or 7 by 8, 15, 16s. Just a hair less than 9. All right, there's that. And I'll put this aside. I can use it for tags. All right, let's grab another piece. This is for the hinge. I'm going to cut this at 8 1/2. So that's 8 1/2 by 12. We'll score that later. This we'll use for more photo mats, so I'll put that aside. Well, I guess let's cut it down now, because there was going to be a lot of photo mats. I'm going to cut it to 3 1/8. Discard, and then 4 1/8, and another 4 1/8. And then this is going to be about 3 3/4. You might want to take one of the cut aparts and cut it down and use that, or you might use it for a tag, or you just might discard it, whatever you want to do. I'll put this in my mat pile. All right, now we're going to work on the pages, the base pages inside it. Let me show you. So I cut this out of just some green cardstock. So we're going to have a pocket on the inside, and then it's basically going to be a folder. and we can get this out of one piece of 12 by 12. So what we first need to do is cut the 12 by 12 paper down 1/2 inch. So it's 11.5 by 12. So there we go. I'm going to cut 4 of them, 11.5 by 12, and save that to work on later. After we do all the cutting, then we'll go through and do all of our scoring. And one more. Okay, so now I also have a couple of pieces. I have some pieces to cut our arches out of. So we'll save 3 of those to cut the arches. You'll need 10 regular size arches and one we're going to cut long, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. First, let's take one more piece and we're going to cut this for our the tubes for the to add to the hinges. So for that, we're going to cut it at 9.5. I don't think I'll need this for now. And then I'm going to rotate it so the 12-inch side's at the top, and we're going to cut it into 4 pieces of 3 inches each. So I'm going to start from here, cut it down at 9, cut it down at 6, and then we'll have cut it at 3, and you'll have one more piece. Okay. All right, then let's start doing some scoring, and then we will cut the additional arches. All right, actually, before I start scoring, I'm going to cut this hinge down. So I have it's 8 3/8 by 12. I'm going to cut it down to 7.5, making a mark because this little cutter doesn't go that far. I'm using that rather than the big one because I already put the big one away. So we can use that for one of the arches. I know I'm cutting it a little tight on my hinge, but that's okay. All right, let us start scoring. So this is the 8 3/8 side is at the side, and the 7.5 is at the top. We're going to start at 1, 1.5, 2, 2 3/8, 2 7/8, 3 3/8, 3 3/4, 4 1/4, 4 3/4, 5 1/8, 5 5/8, and 6 1/8. All right, let's just put that aside for now, and we'll work on it again later. We're going to work on the pages next. All right, we're going to work on the pages. I'm going to do one and then show you how to do. I'm going to show you how to do the one, and then you can do that with the 3 remaining ones. So first, I'm going to put it on my scoreboard with the 12-inch side at the top. This is the 11.5-inch side at the side. 12-inch at the top of the scoreboard. You're going to score this at 3 3/4 all the way down. Then we're going to rotate again, or rotate. So now that 3 3/4 line is parallel with the top, and you have the 11.5-inch side at the top of the scoreboard. We're going to score now at 5.5 all the way down, and at 11. Then I'm going to take this paper, and here's this bottom small section. We're going to flip it over. You see what I did? So here's the bottom, We're just going to take that so the bottom's on the top. You've got the bumps raised. It doesn't matter for this purpose. We're going to go from on the 5-inch line just up to this first 3 3/4 inch score, and just make one short little line. So now I'm going to grab my chalk pen and let me show you that on this green one. So you have the 5.5 here, 5.5, and you have the whole 1/2 inch tab here, and you have this piece here. We're going to cut off this 1/2 inch tab all the way to that score line, and we're actually going to miter right there. We're going to miter on the bottom too. Then we're going to cut on this score line, and we're going to cut so this piece will come off, and we're going to miter here and miter here. So let's do it. So I'm just going to simply miter from that tab up to that score line. I'm going to turn this over to make it easy. I'm going to cut down on this 1/2 inch score line all the way so we have that off. I'm going to miter this little tab here. Then I'm going to cut on this score line that went just to the 3 3/4 inch mark. And we're going to cut here up to that center score line, because now we're going to miter here right up to the center where all the 4 scores come together, and we're going to miter here. So there you go. Let me move all this stuff out of the way. You can use this as another cut apart if you want to mat the cut aparts. I like to mat my cut aparts. Okay, so we've got this. I'm going to erase my lines just because I don't need them. And to me, it gets distracting. So let's take our bone folder and fold and burnish on our score lines. Of course, make sure when you're folding this that it lines up nicely. We're going to fold this up and burnish. And then we're going to fold these cute little tabs and burnish. So what we're going to be doing is gluing these tabs onto here. The only thing you have to make sure is that you still can fold this. So just make sure that you still are able to get a good crease on here. So I'm going to add glue to the bottom. And I'm just going to simply fold that up and burnish. And burnish. And then we'll just crease that one more time. And that is the base page. Simple enough, isn't it? So do the other 3 just like that. If you need to, go rewind and do the 3 just like that. So you have 3 pages, 3 more pages just like that. All right, now we're going to cover the chipboard. I feel like I'm going in a little different order than normal, but that's okay. And you can go in whatever order you want. So I have my cover that is 9 by 6. I'm going to peel off my score tape backing. I have my 1-inch spacers on the side and top. Now it's going to come out a little different because remember, we cut this 7 7/8, not 8. So this will be 1/8 off. But you know what? That's okay. Can you tell? Yeah, you can a little bit, but that's okay. All right, I'm going to use the lay flat cover method. Burnish there. Take my bone folder, find the edge of the chipboard on all 4 sides. And then I'm going to use my surface and fold the sides down so they're folded here. And I'll burnish the edges. And just burnish that. And then I'll open that up and use my surface and fold top and bottom. Burnish those edges. And then burnish the sides. All right. And then we have 4 almost rectangles. I mean, well, they are rectangles, but some are more square than others. We'll cut that. Just cut on the line up to the burnish line. Try not to go over. Right on the burnish line. The score line, I guess I should say. And there we go. There's our 4 squares. Throw them out. All right, now with the chipboard facing up, I'm going to fold in each side in sequence and put the edge of my scissors up at the top and just cut a little strip of whatever comes off to reduce any overhang. Teeny little slivers. Then I'll turn it upside down so my chipboard's facing down and do the same. And then there we go. Clean up my little sliver roundup. See, not very much. Hardly enough to even put in my fire starter pile to start a fire for s'mores. Okay, then I'm going to take my glue, put it right up against the chipboard, come out and go around the perimeter, zigzag to fill it in. I know some people use score tape. I don't see any reason not to use my glue, but if you're more comfortable using your score tape, you can have at it. Or even that red line tape. All right, and I see some glue seeping out. You probably do too. I am using an old t-shirt that I've cut up for this purpose specifically. I had to go buy new clothes so I could use my old ones for rags. Oops. And zigzag. Burnish. I use my fingers to fold it down and then get right on that edge. And then fold it down. Got some glue coming out. So I'll clean that up. And then do the same with this. Now I'm not going to do the other cover. You can just rewind this and play that back if you want. But next I will do the spine piece, which we're going to do a little bit different. Add glue to the edge of the chipboard, go around the perimeter, zigzag, burnish right next to it, fold it over, and burnish. And I have some glue coming out here. Add some over here and there. Then I'll take my bone folder and go on the edge. Does it do anything? No. It makes me feel good though. Look at that beautiful cover. I love it. All right, let's grab our 2 by 9 inch spine piece and our 5 by 11 inch piece of cardstock to cover the spine. Here I'll use my 1.5 inch spacer. If you don't have a spacer, you can just draw a line to start at 1.5 inches with your scoreboard if you want, or you can just chance it and just do your best at centering it. Whatever will work for you. All right, I have my score tape. I will take that off. I put it right up against it, up at the top, push down, remove my spacers, I'll move my scoreboard out of the way, and I'll turn this upside down and varnish on the top, and then find my chipboard. Now, as I mentioned, we do this one a little differently. All right, we can see where the chipboard is. Now I'll fold using my surface just so I can see exactly where it is, top and bottom, and then I'll fold using my surface again. And burnish. All right, I'm using my scissors to cut off. So I've been watching some of my other design team comrades on how they do the lay flat. It's amazing to me that we all watched Tamara's introduction to us on how to do it, and we all do it different. I mean, it's like everything else. You put your own spin on it, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Watch somebody's method. I always like to watch what someone else does and do it once, and you may find areas of a different method that you like, and you may find areas that you don't like. You pick and choose what you like. All right, I'm going to do the same. I will take my scissors and cut off slivers by putting my scissors right against the edge with the chipboard. Then I'll turn it upside down and do the same thing. Okay, let's remove those. And for this, we're just going to glue the top and the bottom. We're going to leave the sides alone. So I'll just add some glue. So I've seen Michelle, she sort of leaves a trapezoid on hers. Tiffany takes a marker and covers where the chipboard is. Yeah, I'll clean that up in a second. I just cover it. I know at the very edge here, you don't really see the chipboard, and if you do, you'll cover this. Whoops, I made a mess. You'll cover it with that other piece, but you know, whatever works for you, whichever method you enjoy. So I just burnish again just to find the edge of that chipboard. And then I will take my score tape. Is this 1/4 inch? It might be. So I'm going to put some next to about 3/16, a little more than 1/8 of an inch away from the edge of the chipboard. And I don't go all the way to the edge here. And then I put another one a little further away. One further away. And then burnish that. And I'll leave that, and then we will be adhering this to the covers of the book. So I'm using my scoreboard to make sure there's a straight surface. I'm peeling off the backing of one side of the score tape. And just to let you know, I forget to glue this side and just adhere it. You'll see how I add the glue on the second side. So don't forget to add glue. I'm not that worried about it here. The two pieces of score tape will help keep it on. And then of course we add the backing paper. Now I'll take my bone folder and burnish this down. I think this is when I realized I forgot to glue. All right, then I'll turn it over, and again, I'm using the scoreboard. There's enough room to add the second cover. Peel off my score tape backing. I remember to add the glue. I'm just putting it in between the two pieces of score tape. I don't want to add any too close to where the end of the cover is going to be. I line this up. There's a minuscule gap, maybe about 1/16 of an inch between the spine and the cover. And then I'll turn it upside down and burnish it. And just adhere that there's a real good stick to this. All right, now I'm getting the piece to cover the spine. Of course, it's just a smidgen under 9. I cut it at 8 and 15/16. All right, so I've added some score tape to this 7 by 8 and 15/16 piece. Do I want to put glue on this? No, I'll lift it up and put glue on it. So I'm going to put this on the inside over the spine. I'm going to center this on. Don't forget this is 1/16 inch less than 9. Just going to center it best I can. I'll burnish in the center. And then finish burnishing it down. I'll bend this. And then I'll just lift this up and add a tad of glue. Just to make sure that stays down. And I'll do the same on this side. And that just helps keep the spine from being flimsy and too loose and covers it nicely. I'm going to work this a little bit with my bone folder just to try to go into that crevice between the chipboard piece of the cover and of the spine, and just so it opens and closes nicely. I love it. Don't you love it? Isn't that a pretty cover? Okay, we're going to continue with working on some of our items. So this is the hinge. You can probably see the lines on the hinge. So what we have is we have 4 pages. We have 4 sets of 2 half-inch hinges. I mean, 4 sets of half-inch hinges. So there's half-inch, half-inch, and then 3/4, 3/8 gusset. Half-inch, half-inch, gusset. Half-inch, half-inch, gusset. So what I'm going to do is turn this upside down so the bumpy side is facing up. And I'm going to fold in between each of the half-inch pieces. So I'll start at the bottom and fold, making sure that my sides are even. And then once I fold it, I'll burnish. And then you'll actually skip 3 lines, skip, skip, fold. So I'll fold in the next set between the next 2 half-inch pieces, right in the center of them. Skip a line, fold, and burnish. Skip a line, fold. and burnish. Now, I know everybody has their own style of making hinges. This is just the way I like to do them. If you want to change, do them however you like. If you want to try my method just to try something new, by all means, go for it. All right, so now you can see the peaks of where we've burnished. What I'm going to do is pull this up towards me, holding down this with my thumb and my palm of my hand, just so the area we burnished will become accentuated and I can actually grab it. Whoops, come on. And fold that. And I'll fold it one way and then the other and burnish with my fingers just to train it a little bit more. Now that I've got that one done, I'll work on the next one, pull it up, pinch it, burnish, burnish. Making sure that you're folding it on the score line. You're just training the paper a little bit more. So burnish, burnish, no glue, and I'm not using my bone folder yet. I am just trying to train the paper to go where I want it to. Now you see we've got the 4 hinges and they've created more mountains. So now I'm going to pull them together just so it's pretty tight. I'll have them all coming one way and take my bone folder, making sure that they're all folded correctly. Don't burnish if it's not folded correctly. And then I will turn them in the other direction, push them away from me, and burnish. And I'll do it a couple of times just to make sure that they're trained. Alrighty. So now I turned it upside down so the underside of the gussets are facing up and you can see the hinges are pointing down. So I'm going to take some glue. I'm going to open it up a little bit. I trained it a little too well. And I'm not going to start right at the edge. I'm about 1/4 inch away from the edge. And I'll zigzag to get some glue. And then I like to do a line, a bead of glue towards the top. I'm about maybe a 1/16 of an inch from the top. And then I'll turn it upside down, pinch it together again, squeeze it, distribute the glue. I'm not going all the way to the end yet, but I will. And if there's any glue, which there isn't, make sure you clean it up before you go back and forth. So there we've got the one hinge together. And then I'll do that with the other 3 hinges, starting at the 1/4 inch mark, zigzag. I didn't zig, or maybe I forgot to zag, I don't know. Do a bead of glue, turn it upside down, pinch, distribute the glue. Now, if you have fingernails, I don't know what you're going to do. I guess use your bone folder. You don't have very long fingernails. If I would use your bone folder if you have long fingernails. Zigzag. My glue didn't come out, so I had to add some more. Fill it in. It's not so pretty, but you know what? Nobody will see it. If you do have long fingernails, you can just keep them to the side as opposed to up and down and help distribute the glue. And one more, and then we'll grab our bone folder and burnish it again. Now I will burnish, make sure the glue is distributed. It hasn't gone to the ends. Now I'll burnish it with them all towards me. I'll push them away from me. And burnish it again. All right, we're going to let that dry while we cover the book. All right, now that we have the cover, I'm going to grab my hinge. So this is nice and dry, ready to go. Let's burnish it one more time. That way, move this hinges the other way, and we'll burnish it again once we get it in the book. So I am going to not exactly center it. I'm going to go more over to the left side. So there is about 3/4 of an inch. So I'll go, well, maybe about 3/8 on both sides. I guess I will center it. Make sure it's centered top to bottom as well. And for this, I'm going to use glue. So what I like to do is sort of bend this. So I can take my glue and go right in that area, right where the hinge is. Now, if you go outside of it, it's no big deal because we're going to actually put it outside. But that way you get some in the channel, and I just feel like it gives you some good adhesion. And I'll zigzag. Again, I stay away from the edge because it will, when you distribute it, it will go to the edge, but you don't want to have too much. And I'm not going to put any on the wings. I'm going to use that so I can hold on. So again, I'm going to eyeball it. I know I wanted about 3/16 on both sides. And I first, once I place it down, then I'll take my fingers. It's still movable because the glue's wet. And I'll start at the top and go to the middle, start at the bottom and go to the middle and distribute that glue. We can use the bone folder if you want. Oops. And then I started in the middle one. Now I'll move this one hinge over and do the next one on the right. And then I'll move both those, that one and this one, over to the right. Did I say right? Yes. And do the area on the left of that centerpiece. Distribute it with my fingers and then with my bone folder. And then I'll put these hinges upright and go right against the edge. And then I'll put them all the hinges one way and burnish. And all the hinges the other way and burnish. All right, now I have this wing piece that's not adhered, so I'll lift that up, add glue to the edge, and then around the perimeter and zigzag. And I'll do that with this piece too. On that wing and zigzag. And use your bone folder to distribute the glue. I start from the top, or start from the bottom, go to the top, and go a couple of times. And then, whoops. If I get glue on my bone folder, I clean it right away, or else it'll mar the paper. You can always wipe it off with a damp cloth. And I have some glue coming out. I'll clean that up. And then I'll let this dry before I try to open the book. And then once I do, once it's dry, I'll go in that channel again and burnish several times. Try to open the book very slowly. I really should let it dry. All right, now we've got the base of the book made, so move on to the next tutorial to complete the project.